Հարգելի նախագահող, ձեր գերազանց
Dear President, Excellencies, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, the main substance of speeches of all leaders of the Republic of Armenia from this rostrum has been dedicated to the conflict between the Republic of Armenia and the Republic of Azerbaijan. Such were also my speeches from 2018 to 2023. Last year, speaking at the 79th session of the General Assembly, I tried for the first time to speak not about the conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan, but about peace. My narrative was very cautious, very uncertain, although at that time already more than 12 kilometers of the Armenia-Azerbaijan interstate border had been demarcated for the first time, and the regulations on the joint activities of the demarcation commissions of the two countries had been signed by the two deputy prime ministers. After my speech, pivotal events have occurred in Armenia-Azerbaijan relations. Firstly, the regulations on the joint activities of the demarcation commissions were ratified in both Armenia and Azerbaijan, receiving the highest legal force. This is the first bilateral international document signed and ratified between Armenia and Azerbaijan. In this document, the 1991 December 21 Alma-Ata Declaration is mentioned as the basic principle of border demarcation between the two countries. I'm referring to the demarcation of the interstate border. Thus, the optimistic processes of the preceding period continued over the past year. In March of this year, Armenia and Azerbaijan were able to agree upon a draft agreement on establishing peace and interstate relations and to conclude the negotiations on the draft with such a positive outcome. In that document, too, the parties, referring to the Alma-Ata Declaration, confirmed their understanding that the borders between the former Soviet Socialist republics of the USSR have become the international borders of the respective independent states, and on this basis, they recognize and respect each other's sovereignty, territorial integrity, inviolability of international borders, and political independence. As you have now seen, the reference to the Alma-Ata Declaration means that both countries recognize that the territory of the Republic of Armenia is identical with the territory of the Armenian Soviet Socialist Republic, and the territory of the Republic of Azerbaijan is identical with the territory of the Azerbaijan Soviet Socialist Republic, and the borders encompassing these territories are inviolable. The aforementioned agreement on the establishment of peace and interstate relations between Armenia and Azerbaijan was initialed on August 8 of this year in the U.S. capital, Washington, D.C., at the White House, by the foreign ministers of the two countries, in the presence of the U.S. President, the President of Azerbaijan, and myself. The culmination of the meeting that took place at the White House on August 8 was the declaration that we adopted as a result of the meeting with the President of Azerbaijan, and which was also signed as witness by the U.S. President, Donald Trump. That declaration stated that Armenia and Azerbaijan recognize the need to chart a course for a bright future not bound by the conflict of the past, consistent with the Charter of the United Nations and the 1991 Almaty Declaration, and that after the conflict that brought immense human suffering, the conditions have finally been created for our nations to fully embark on building good neighborly relations on the basis of the inviolability of international borders and the inadmissibility of the use of force for the acquisition of territory. This reality, which is not and should never be subject to revision, paves the way for closing the chapter of enmity between our two nations. We resolutely reject and exclude any attempt of revenge, now and in the future, reads the declaration. In the same documents, we, the leaders of Armenia and Azerbaijan, reaffirmed the importance of opening communications between our two countries for intrastate, bilateral and international transportation, for the promotion of peace, stability and prosperity in the region and its neighborhood on the basis of respect for the sovereignty, territorial integrity and jurisdiction of the states. These efforts are to include unimpeded connectivity between the main parts of the Republic of Azerbaijan and the Nakhchivan Autonomous Republic through the territory of the Republic of Armenia, with reciprocal benefits for international and intrastate connectivity for the Republic of Armenia. It was also noted that the Republic of Armenia will work with the United States of America and mutually determined third parties to set forth a framework for the Trump Route for International Peace and Prosperity, the TRIP Route Connectivity Project in the territory of the Republic of Armenia. We confirmed our determination to pursue efforts in good faith to achieve this goal in the most expeditious manner. Distinguished President, ladies and gentlemen, what does all this mean? All this means, and I am happy to report to the entire international community, that peace has been established between the Republic of Armenia and the Republic of Azerbaijan. Ladies and gentlemen, the role of United States President Donald Trump is decisive in this peace process, whose dedication, consistency and principledness make possible what seemed to be impossible. This is why we agreed with Azerbaijan's President Ilham Aliyev on our joint decision to nominate President Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize, because we have seen through our own example that President Trump is truly committed to the idea of peace. I would also like to emphasize the role of the peoples, governments, and parliaments of Armenia and Azerbaijan, without whose support, of course, it would have been impossible to reach this point. Peace, thus, is established, but peace is not a vacation. It is work, everyday work. Peace requires daily care, like a newborn baby, to be protected from infections, the cold and the heat, the indifference and the pessimism. Conflict, indeed, poses far fewer questions before us, and the options for answers in the case of conflict are not many, while peace brings with it questions, new questions, more questions, questions continuously, and peaceful life is about answering those questions with care and not with disdain. Thinking diligently about those questions and formulating the answers in good faith is the institutionalization of peace, which is a continuous necessity and something we ought to deal with every day. In this context, it is extremely important to clarify the fate of persons whose whereabouts are unknown, and to address the issue of persons deprived of liberty as a result of the long-standing conflict, which is also part of our daily work agenda. The TRIP Route infrastructure project will operate in the territory of the Republic of Armenia with a business model agreed upon in a bilateral US-Armenia format, consisting of several dozen kilometers of various infrastructures. The trip route will have both regional and global significance and impact. By the way, in the context of caring for and nurturing the established peace, it is very important to use a pro-peace, legitimate and agreed-upon narrative when speaking about this project as well. The President of Azerbaijan, with whom we adopted the Washington Declaration, has used the so-called Zangezur corridor expression several times since then, including from this rostrum. Such an expression does not exist in the documents agreed upon in Washington. It has never been in the Armenia-Azerbaijan negotiations or documents. I think it makes sense for my Azerbaijani counterpart to clarify what he means by using that expression, because in the Armenian reality, it is perceived as a territorial claim on Armenia and is associated with conflict narrative. In the documents of August 8, we agreed upon clear content and narrative, and it is not possible to understand casting doubt on commitment to those agreements in any way through the narratives I mentioned and or through other narratives expressed from this rostrum. Such